Recording has started.
I think it's 9:30 on the dot. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to everyone that's joining us in person and to those of you that are online. I'd like to call to order the monthly business meeting for Island Transit Board of Directors for May 1st, 2026. I'm still in denial that it's actually May, but it is in fact May 1st. Has everyone had an roll call? I see Leela. I see Melanie online. I see James Camaro, Craig Sear, and our Jill Johnson is with us today. And Janet Sinclair is out of office. So we do have a quorum, Matt. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the agenda? Are there any questions, changes, comments, feedback?
I'd like to add an agenda item, and this, I'm sorry I didn't coordinate this at that time, but I'd like to add an agenda item after business item number 5, the discussion about convening an Island Transit meeting on Command Island. One of our monthly board meetings. I'd like to consider that.
Ready to do that? Yeah, okay. Any other discussion? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended, please?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Has everyone had an opportunity to review the consent agenda? Any comments, questions, feedback, any discussion?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
And
Second, unless you've got a second.
a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as submitted. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Now is the time for public input and comment. This time is reserved for members of the public to address the board on matters of concern or interest or on items not scheduled for public hearing. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. And we may end or modify the public comment period if remarks become disruptive or are not relevant to the business before the board. Matters requiring more extensive input should be submitted in writing. Do we have any public input online? Anyone in the room? Last call. Okay, we will close the public input and comment period and move on to the business items. First is business item number 1, resolution number 326, and I will hand it over to our executive director.
Thank you, Jenny. So on an annual basis, Island Transit appoints 2 investment officers. Typically, this is the executive director and previously the financial controller. In January, absent from the financial controller, the board appointed Chair Bright as a temporary investment officer. Vanya Brown has now been named our new finance manager for Island Transit, and we are requesting the board appoint Vanya to replace Chair Bright.
I'd move to authorize resolution number 326, appointing Island Transit Executive Director Melinda Adams and Island Transit Accountant Bonnie Brown as investment officers for the Island County Public Transportation Benefit Area, doing business as Island Transit for 2026, effective May 1st, 2026, and superseding resolution 126.
Second.
I think we've had discussion after, but it seemed like we were moved for it.
I think we just need to make a change on the title for Vanya. I think that's incorrect. He is as up to date with finance.
Okay, I amend my motion to say Island Transit Finance Manager Vanya Brown.
Second amended motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of authorizing resolution number 3-26, appointing Vanya Brown as the investment officer, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. We will move on to business item number 2, Authorization of the addition of a second bathroom to the Terry Corner Staff Support Facility. And again, I will pass it over to our executive director.
Thank you. We have before us a change order for Terry's Corner. During a meeting with KPFF in April, I discovered that the engineering plans, which predated my appointment, included only one bathroom for Terry's Corner. Currently, we have 2 porta potties assigned to the site to accommodate our operators. After considerable discussion, I requested that KPFF and our contractor provide estimates for a second bathroom. We are currently taking this time as an ideal time to update the existing plans to include that second bathroom. This bathroom is critical to the project. The original plans included 2 bathrooms, and prior to my arrival, it was narrowed down to 1 bathroom as it was compared to Harbor Station as having only 1 bathroom. It is my recommendation that we look at both current and future needs. Adding the bathroom now will be more cost effective. We are currently under budget, and with the approval of the change order in the amount of $250,000, it will support design, construction management, construction, and provide a small contingency for other unexpected changes. Questions?
Discussion. So,
I think it's interesting that this was not originally in the first draft of the project because of the fact that 2 bathrooms are really, I mean, that seems pretty obvious, but I'm delighted for this movement to get this done. Definitely.
Is this a demand issue or a employees aren't clean issue?
Or both.
Or both?
Both.
No, I mean, look, I've been in the boiler
Sure.
bathroom, we
Sure.
have some aim issues, so is it just is it more gender needs, or is it a demand, we need it for the demand, because the buses arrive at the same time?
For demand, it's demand because they will be. Code number, if you will.
Yeah, okay.
Right, so one will be ADA and the other will be a regular size.
Okay, oh, great,
Under the existing code.
but it's not, they're not public bathrooms,
Correct. They are.
unless we have an emergency, then the driver can make the decision to let somebody in. I'm assuming.
I'm sure.
Great.
any other discussion? Melanie? Okay. Can we get a motion?
Do we have a motion?
No, we need a motion.
I move that we approve an authorization for change order to Terry's Corner Staff Support Facility Project to add a second bathroom.
Second.
We need to have the amount in here as part of the motion.
Pardon?
We're not doing that, we need to have that.
We'll read that in a minute, so.
Did I get a second?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to authorize for Island Transit to proceed with a change order in the amount of $250,000, adjusting the total price cost to not to exceed 1.5. All in favor, say aye.
Alright,
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thanks. Jim.
Oh, just on. Okay. All right, well, we will pivot. We're gonna pivot from business item number 3. Our presenter is not yet online, so we'll move to business item number 4. And I believe our executive director is gonna start and then Hannah.
Okay, so today we're going to be presenting what a P card or purchase card program looks like to the board. Island Transit currently utilizes an antiquated credit card system established in 2002. The Clark Muber audit and our state auditor's office have recommended a P card program to replace the current system. The new system will streamline our purchasing process, providing needed guardrails and prevent audit concerns. We are providing an introductory presentation today to the program and will revisit the board in July for action to adopt a P card policy and program through US Bank. I'm gonna hand it off to Nate, who's been working on the project.
All right, hello board. Just to reiterate, we're not making decisions today. This is, again, just an introductory presentation. Next slide, please. So overview of what I'll be covering, why purchase card, state program, and our potential approach as Island Transit to this program. Slide, please. All right, why purchase card? So as our executive director mentioned, our current program was built for the commercial industry. We opened our account in 2002, so it's really antiquated. With that, it's legacy, so it's no longer created by US Bank. With that, it gives us a few problems with how the world is moving and how big credit cards are becoming the norm for a lot of agencies. Additionally, most recent audits have pointed to updating our system. This is supported by the state auditor's office as well as Clark Lever. So this is really a need that we need to implement. With it, the main benefits with moving to the state program, we save a lot of time and money. Processing time is reduced, saves quite a bit of staff time. It streamlines everything that we're doing, so it cuts down on the amount of POs that we're making. We can better track our spending, so that's better accountability to you guys. You can see exactly where our money is going, and then along with that, fraud protection. So along with us and our internal policies, we'll have a whole fight with US Bank to make sure that money goes to the right place. We're not being scammed. Next slide, please. What can we buy with P cards? So pretty much everything that we're purchasing right now can be purchased with purchase cards. Some of the big things I wanted to highlight were office supplies, facility supplies, parts, service guides, travel expenses. All those are covered by the purchase card. Along with a few other things that are included in this bus diagram for you to take a look at. Next slide, please. So we'll be moving to the Department of Enterprise Services Purchase Card Program. This is a program run by the state of Washington. It is also a national program, so we'll be under that umbrella. It doesn't connect to personal credit in any way, so that's a complaint we have with the current program. Other agencies will have that same issue. It will be the agency's credit rather than personal. There's a lot more controls at different levels, so rather than just one person seeing where all the money is going, I'm able to give a person like Chris, the IT director, can see where his money's going with the cards. Again, administered by Washington State via NASPO. So NASPO is the big national program. US Bank is the purchase card provider. We currently use US Bank. The program is administered by US Bank, so we're not changing banks. We'll still have all of our information, which is really, really useful. 45-day payment cycles. With that, there's also incentives to pay early. I'll be going over that in the next slide. Payments to US Bank can be made via check, ACH, EFT, all methods. Right now, we pay via check. If in the future we move to electronic, we have the capability to use that as well. Travel cards include insurance. We currently do not have that, so this is a very good benefit for us. And then finally, with that, vendors can self-identify socioeconomic status. So right now, that's not too big of a concern with the current administration. If things were to say switch in the future, we'd be able to pivot and see where our money is going, what vendors, DPE, all of those types of things. Are there any questions? I'll pause mid-presentation.
So the cost of the program doesn't change to us, is that right?
Completely free.
Okay.
I might ask with regard to the question of security. And I read a report that mainland China can get into any account they want to, if they want to bad enough. And so with AI too, so I would ask that, would you comment on the security features of this program if you're willing or able?
I don't have specifics for you, sir, but I will say with it being under the umbrella of NASPO, security is pretty tight. With that, we have different controls. So let's say, for example, someone was to get Chris's IT card, he'd be able to get a notification pretty quickly, just like your bank.
Okay.
Although if China really wants to get into your card, there's not really anything we can do to stop it. We can just mitigate at that point.
Thank you very much.
Of course, right now, the current cards we use are attached to the individual employee's personal credit.
So right now we have an overarching credit. So someone who's been approved to use it, It's not individuals right now, but still, because one person's credit is connected to it, that's an issue.
That is an issue.
So this will shift it to just the agency rather than an individual.
I'm lost, and it's because I didn't get my phone call with Melinda because I missed it.
Yeah, of course.
So so one individual at Transit has qualified for a credit card that multiple employees are using? So will you just explain?
I can provide an explanation. So this particular account that was established back in 2002 had one authorized official. That system is so antiquated, up until December, that authorized official was a financial controller. So there was only one person, it was tied to their credit. So during the process of our employee transition, we went through, a lot to try to get a new authorized official appointed. I spoke with Matt yesterday, it had to go under me.
Yeah.
At this point in time, which is not ideal, we are documenting, making proper documentation. I did it because it's a temporary solution, as I want the staff to get the P card program on board July 1, so that it's not tied to personal credit.
And then this will, yeah, I'm in agreement that that's crazy. And then this will work substantially the same as a credit card would. So any authorized department head or whomever you decide would have access to it, it will work just like a credit card. This isn't a replacement of just purchase orders. This is a government insured credit card, more or less, and then and any employee can use it. So that's
Yeah.
really the switch, is just who the securer is, and it will be the agency versus an individual.
Yeah, we're moving from a commercial program to one that's catered directly for public agencies.
Got it.
And need a follow-up to Commissioner Johnson's question is, my understanding of P cards is that there's a very specific grouping of things that can be charged with the card. And if someone I decide to go get my nails done, I use the card, it's gonna kick it out.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so
absolutely.
that's the difference as well.
The other nice thing about this is the
Don't let
automated
anybody else do that.
process. Right now, finance does hand reconciling of all of the credit cards and the receipts. With the P card system, for example, let's say Chris went to purchase something with his P card that was an allowable purchase, it's automated, so it would come up in the system. I get an email that tells me exactly what he's just purchased, and he has uploaded receipts so that I then can approve. So there's a great approval process that goes along. Yeah, that's automated versus a month later, you're reconciling and looking for receipts, which is what our current system, it's working well, and we haven't had too many issues, besides a few lost receipts here and there that Vanya provides an affidavit for, that we have a lost receipt. But this is a much cleaner, automated system.
I strongly favor the P card system, especially Commissioner Johnson's comment about transferring it from an individual to the agency. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. It should have been the case, years ago, but that's ancient history now.
Yeah, absolutely. And we won't be trailblazing with this. I mean, agencies all over the state of Washington.
Pretty common now. So we're not working with the beta program, right?
No, absolutely not.
We're late to the party. Okay.
Next slide, please. Speaking of other agencies using it, one of the really big benefits with this will be also rebates, and that's based on how quickly we as an agency reconcile. It's a base 1.3% back, and it's again based on how quick a payment is made. The money, which I know is going to be a question, comes mainly from interchange fees. So the merchants bank pays us in essence to use the card. I provided two examples from Q4. So Community Transit, a really big transit agency in the area. Just on their P cards, they spent about $415,000. The rebates they got back almost $7,000. So it's a little bit of money, but it's stuff that can be used towards other things. City of Anacortes, just up the street, they're really big on P cards, almost $500,000 in Q4. They got a rebate of 8,500. So again, we're not trailblazing. This is a program that was used by other agencies as well. Next slide, please.
Okay, Jenny.
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
So will we consider, looking at Vanya, moving to EFT since this is such an incentive and we're currently paying with check?
I believe so. US Bank is one that provides banking service, and I was even looking for the current program to start using it, but wasn't available for us, and I believe so.
Okay.
Yes,
We
we can
have,
confirm this.
yeah, and
Yeah,
we've
you guys-
been slowly moving
I know.
different items to EFT via the treasurer's office. Where we can.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, so our potential approach is a hybrid model. Right now, we're issuing individual cards. That does not do the big thing. So we're moving to departmental cards for those who maybe need to buy things occasionally, but they don't need an individual card, so we'll have a checkout system. We'll make sure those are very much controlled. And then for those individuals like Melinda, travels pretty often, she will have an individual card. That travel insurance will kick in and protect any card, so it's a pretty efficient system to use the hybrid model. Next slide, please. Card usage, so going off of Jenny's comment, this will be a very narrow scope of what we're using the card for. So you can't go and use it to get your nails done. We're mainly looking for the purchase of goods, services, and travel. Next slide, please.
Since this covers travel, can employees use this for meals when they're on travel? You know,
Our current policy doesn't allow meals to be used with the card.
does not allow them. So does that preclude us from doing that in the future?
We can change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if we want to, we can.
For an individual user, in have a growth after that.
Join the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
So,
very familiar with cards.
Is it okay to add something?
Yes.
We are able to set up accounting code for each pickup. And this accounting code will be exactly channel what you can purchase and we can identify certain pickups to be just for travel and certain to be for parts, certain for different expenses.
You know, as I think about it currently, under our travel policy, employees actually provide receipts for their meals versus per diem, which really identifies actual cost versus just getting a per diem. So that's kind of right.
any further questions? Keep moving. So these are standard limits. I want to emphasize these are draft standard limits. So anything can change again. We can adjust depending on how comfortable you as the board feel, how comfortable Melinda is. This is a draft. So with that, single purchase limit of $1,000, unlimited swipes per day, and then a monthly limit of $5,000. We're still experimenting, so different cards will probably have different limits. We don't want everyone to have a $5,000 swipe limit. Again, a draft.
So we have, especially in IT, license agreements that you have to do online that cover like a year that far exceed $5,000, right? So like our IT limit is higher. Our public works and facilities limits are higher because so many places are like, they want online payment versus PO payment. This program doesn't lock us into those limits. We're choosing those limits right now, so we can look at it and say, in these instances, you can go higher.
So if, for example, I'll use Chris again,
Chris.
spends a lot of money. let's say he needed $80,000 for Microsoft licenses. Those
Yeah.
aren't real numbers, those are just off the
Yeah,
top
yeah,
of my head. We could authorize potentially Melinda's card and only Melinda's card for a one-time transaction limit, pay for that. In the past, we've done POs and haven't had issues, but if we wanted to shift fully to having a card pay for it, maybe get some money back in rebates, we could authorize that.
So currently, our limit, and Nate, thank you for pointing out that these are just numbers coming out, is 50,000. Our policy says 40,000. We're in the midst of making those things align, so that's our highest net.
So Nate, with regard to emergency needs of a traveler or something to this effect, if there's a limit of a certain type, would they need to call home office and get authorization, or how, if they need to go up, I mean, let's say they crash a car or there's some disaster when they're out traveling, as far as getting beyond the limit on the card, what would be the process, not the detailed process, but where would the authorization come from to boost it up?
So it's from the authorized official who at the moment is me,
Okay.
but for example, I was traveling, I went to put my room on the card and I was out of money.
Okay.
So a quick call to Meg and the financial controller. They were able to remedy that within 24 hours. I used my own card, it was, but and then we just did a reimbursement.
Okay, right, excellent, thanks.
Who's gonna decide what those limits are, or when will we decide what those limits are, if it's the board?
We're looking at July to present those.
I mean, my initial reaction is that that's too low. I realize that's an odd thing for me to say, but the travel. Travel is actually a good example. You're easily gonna go over $1,000 in a multi-day stay. And so I just think that economically, if there's not trust, that's a different conversation, right? If we don't trust people enough to be responsible, we're in an executive session. This is really about control, but also expediting things, doing it responsibly. I don't want to be so restrictive that we lose the expedition and efficiency of it if the back end controls are there. So, I mean, I don't have a dollar amount recommendation. I just kind of wanted to put my oar in the water that I think this might actually be too low. Like a monthly limit for a department of $5,000 is not, it's just not real life anymore. And
Yeah.
so those numbers that we're kind of knee jerking to, I think are not really where our economy is and what it costs to run the organization or what it costs to travel. So I just want to be a little more ahead of things in terms of what's actually gonna happen, because although you handled it, if I was standing
Not
there with,
everybody could.
right, and if I was standing there with a company card and it declined, even if I had my own,
It was mortifying.
it's more.
It was.
Right, and so it's like, we don't need our people experiencing that, when in fact, we, you know.
I was
so-
pulling out all my
Try this
cards. Try this one.
Oh.
No, it was very valid.
And then there's the embarrassment factor too.
Yeah,
So
that
but
would
it
be
takes
the
away the
mortification.
efficiency. It takes, like
Yeah.
Commissioner Johnson said, it's taking it away, and then you've got to raise your hand and say, help me out, and after you've done that 4 or 5 times, it defeats the purpose.
Yeah, so I appreciate the comments because as we develop this program and policy to bring to the board in July, we'll work with Clark Newberg.
Okay.
Also on kind of standard recommendations, and we will, thank you for that, because we will take that into consideration to definitely make it more realistic.
Yeah, there could be a flag of if a purchase goes down a certain amount to have a look into it, or not necessarily an audit, but I agree with Commissioner Johnson that, you know, those numbers aren't realistic, basically.
All right, next slide, please. All right, our next step. So you got just a little bit ahead.
Oh, sorry.
With that, policy approval for the board arriving in the next 2 months. So we're aiming really for June to come to the table with numbers. With that as well, we'll tell you what other agencies are doing and we'll adjust accordingly. And then implementation will run concurrently with policy approval by the board. So we're not just waiting, we're gonna be moving forward forward pretty quickly on this. Next slide, please. And with that, are there any remaining questions?
How could there possibly be?
Great job,
Thank
Nate.
you, thank you.
Jeff should
Okay,
have.
Jeff is here, so we are going to go back to business item 3, if I'm remembering correctly. An update on the South Whidbey Transit Center, Clinton Park and Ride Alternative Analysis and NEPA reevaluation.
So, yeah, so we have an update on the South Whidbey Transit Center that we had last discussed last year with the board. As you may recall, we visited the topic regarding the Ken's Corner. So we currently have a little over 12 million in federal funding for this project. In January, I met with WashDOT and Washington State Ferries to discuss the viability of the Clinton Park and Ride as a viable alternative. WashDOT and WSF expressed interest in selling the property. So for context, WashDOT owns the property currently, Washington State Ferries leases property. They already zoned for transit and within close proximity to the ferry, Island Transit utilized the services of KPFF to initiate an alternative analysis on the property and to complete a NEPA categorical exclusion worksheet to submit to FTA for consideration. We have completed the initial work and would like to present a rendering of what the site may look like should FTA approve the NEPA requirements and should the board consider this property as viable for purchase. No action may be taken until we have the full concurrence of the Federal Transit Administration. Today's presentation by KPFF will illustrate how we can envision a future transit center, additional parking, comfort station for operators, etc. For perspective, our funds will expire in 2 years, and it can take approximately 2 years to purchase this property from WSDOT. Once concurrence from FTA is received, we will come back to the board to take action on purchasing the property. This location is highly desirable for this purpose. WashDOT is interested in selling, and all indicators point to the long-range plan supporting a future transit center on the south end. So Jeff has been working, and we're gonna just show you a rendering of what it could look like and open it up for discussion and questions. Jeff, welcome.
Yeah, thanks. So I just walking through and I'll share the screen here. We basically are working with the FTA to get some concurrence to do some additional preliminary analysis of the site just to, test the viability of this as a candidate site. And so part of that is performing some environmental work, some other work. And so we've applied it for that NEPA and working through basically getting that approval to do the additional preliminary analysis. But the exciting part of the project is really kind of understanding that and kind of test fitting to make sure that the program fits on the site, which long story short, it seems like it does and can be a good candidate site pending those other investigations. And so kind of just,
Jeff,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, is it possible to expand that screen so that we
Yeah.
can see it?
Yeah. So it's maximized on mine and then I just zoomed in a little. Is that still pretty small?
It's better.
Okay. Yeah. So basically what we're trying to do is basically pull what was kind of loading, unloading of buses off of SR 525 and really bring that into the park and ride. So currently there's about 190 stalls at the park and ride. We have tried to, as best as possible, try to maintain 190 parking stalls there. In addition to folding in three transit bays with shelters to service loading, unloading for passengers, some additional bike lockers, obviously a driver comfort station, which is a critical part of the project, and really just tried to, lay out as best as possible to really kind of figure out, does the program work for the site? And like I said, it does feel like with the program targets, at least right now, that it is working. And I think, there's a long way to go before any final project is completed, but this at a really high level shows us that, you know, it is a promising site, and that it is, you know, in theory, a good idea to continue with the preliminary analysis to really test, you know, the additional environmental piece, geotechnical and cultural piece. Because if those things start to flush out, then it starts to really kind of point to this as a potential site. So, um, and so I really kind of overviewed sort of the intent here. There would be with any project a requirement for EV ready. So there would naturally from the Washington State Code be some EV or electric vehicle charging stalls installed here. There would be a set number of them that would be EV ready for the future with some underground infrastructure, and then those about 10% identified for future capable for EV. That's really kind of the high level program at this point in time that we've kind of been test fitting. But are there any questions on that or the preliminary analysis that we're doing?
Jeff, can you please point to the ingress and egress
You
for both the
bet.
buses and the
Yeah.
regular single occupant vehicles?
Yeah, so what we wanted to do is we have enough throat or width of the drive there. So the hope was to kind of keep the transit, at least as they enter, free and clear from the traffic that is or park and ride patrons will say coming in and out of the facility. So really, we have a dedicated transit only ingress here to where they're basically separated via this raised curb / planting area. That gives them free access to come immediately in to drop off passengers at any of the 3 active bays here. We've run some preliminary turn movements just to make sure that they can move through there. And then as the buses depart, they would then realign, stop at this stop bar here, and then proceed out with combining with the park and ride traffic there. So coming in, we wanted to make sure we kept them separate there. Coming out, though, they will interface with and thread in with the park and ride traffic. As far as kind of the park and ride patrons, like I said, they do have sort of a dedicated center lane here to come in, and it's really kind of a straight shot back in. They have the opportunity for some short-term pickup drop-off, or you know, Uber, Lyft, etc. We typically call it kind of the kiss and ride. So they have that opportunity to drop patrons off. If that is the case, then they can continue around and then exit the facility fairly quickly. There is, you know, a leg here that extends up to this edge here. So it seemed good to have a central drive that kind of pushes folks to the back, and then they have kind of a decision point to either go north to the additional spots up here or south. And there is quite a bit of visibility across the site, so grade shouldn't create an issue where, you know, seeing spots would be an issue. But so that's kind of the general ingress and egress for buses through there. So any questions on that?
It's a very attractive proposal. I'm mindful of the fact of the unintended consequences when highly talented engineers get in front of a computer screen to develop an infrastructure project with the scale. And then there's this potential for, you know, the unforeseen consequence. So I just wanted to be on record that, I mean, it looks wonderful and I'm supportive of the concept, but just being mindful that there's, you know, we don't want to go back looking at it after it's done and say, we could have done it just under this other aspect a little different, or it would have made it better. And then also with regard to the funding aspect is, are you a funding person?
No, it'd be the funding.
With regard to the funding, infrastructure projects like this are notorious for having delays and unanticipated schedule changes and so forth. So do we lose the money? I mean, there's no way to get an extension if we're in the middle of it and.
So there's 2 pots of money. There's 4 million from Senator Murray's office, which is what we call in the grant world an earmark.
Okay,
That money does not expire.
okay,
The other funds, the balance of funds, I believe was brought to us by Representative Larson. Is that correct?
It was it's a grant,
5339, which has that expiration date of 2 years. Because it's a federal grant and we are a subrecipient to WashDOT, WashDOT is working with us in the understanding we need to expedite so we don't lose funds. from a federal funding standpoint, if we were to purchase the property with these funds, once we obligate against that grant, the funds are secured.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you, Brooke.
So I have a number of questions. I'm curious to know what the advantage is of moving the boarding of passengers from its current location down into the lot.
Oh, so as far as kind of loading, unloading down here, I think it creates just a little bit safer condition for some of the patrons. They're not, up and around here. So that's really the intent, I think, for the project is to bring the loading off of 525 and down to here to have it be just a little bit easier to be able to kind of come out and then go either direction. Because as you know, I believe some would continue down, drop folks off, come back here. Others would depart here and then leave and head westbound. And so as we kind of load unload here, there really is only one load unload point. It's on the south side of the SR 525 and it's headed east. So this gives the flexibility for buses to be able to come in, drop patrons off, and then really have a decision point to go either direction a little bit more readily in that regard. And kind of frees up to have less activity, we'll say, on the SR 525 route here, because when you contend with the ferry traffic, it does make it kind of difficult to be able to get in and out of there. Yeah, so that's some kind of the finer points. Yeah, hopefully that
Okay.
answers your question.
And it looks like from what I can see here, that the parking lot has been, the perimeter of the parking lot has been moved to the west. Is that right?
Yes.
Extended.
Yeah. So there is about 190 stalls on site, and it's probably hard to see, but you could see a little bit in the underlay. The edge of current pavement is kind of like right here along this line. So really everything west of there would be new impervious pavement to the site. So it is really taking a site that maybe, we'll say 50 to 60% impervious pavement, and there would be, basically a push to almost 90 to 95% impervious here. But obviously, stormwater infrastructure would be added and designed in later to mitigate for, any kind of detention, filtration, things like that are needed.
Also, what about the traffic that's on egress out of the post office parking lot?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think that's something as part of future design that would need to be taken into account. So I think it's a good question, and there will be some discussion needed there. I think there is an entry now to the post office through the WashDOT site. So again, I'm not sure what formal agreements are in place, but that's definitely something that would need to be considered as part of
Yeah, well,
future
currently,
design.
Currently, you can leave the parking lot of the post office. In fact, there's an external mail letter, a letter drop box there. And so people pull in there, drop their mail, and then head out via that exit. You know what I'm talking about?
The south exit here or the one along Deer Lake?
Right, exactly. So if buses are going in there, I'm guessing your expectation is the traffic would take a right and go to the west and then exit. Is that right?
As far as post office traffic or park and ride traffic?
Coming out of the parking lot, going south, you wouldn't take a left, right? Because that's
That would be going into the bus.
that you'd be running against the bus traffic.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I think as part of the future, it would need to be determined, is this maintained or is there a different configuration that needs to be had?
Okay.
Because again, I'm not sure if there's a formal easement there, or if it's just a nice to have and people do it. But this is a WashDOT property, so it's really not postal service property. So, but again, I think those are things that need to be kind of, coordinated as part of any future design. But I do believe there is a workable solution to have, those interfaces work well together.
In past board meetings, there has just been kind of light discussion about the advantages. One of the advantages of the South Whidbey Transit Center is allowing a vehicle not to have to deadhead back to Coopville every night. In other words, the bus could park overnight here. Of course, that has some challenges because it wouldn't get cleaned every night, which is something we,
They actually federally funded assets cannot be parked in an unsecured area.
okay, there you go.
Sorry, but it would mean deadheading. 17 years of compliance.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, but however, at least you wouldn't have to deadhead back during the day, right? So you would be eliminating a lot of deadheads.
You notice how if I throw up an idea and she's like,
Sorry.
Yeah.
like skeet.
We're gonna do the same thing next. Feel bad.
Can I ask some questions about the structure that we're considering? It might have to do with the grant. Might have to do with lot C here, Miles Keachie. We wanna buy this property from Wausau to do this project, which then gives us all of the ongoing maintenance associated with it because it's BR property, and it gives us the insurance concerns because it's our property, all the things. Is there a way with that grant that WASDOT can still be maintained being the underlying owner and that we would pay for improvements on that property? So we would go in and say, look, we want to design it for this purpose. We'll use our grant funds as the initial capital to do this, but then ultimately it's still their property.
That's a great question, and I don't have an answer for that, so I won't shoot it.
Okay.
I mean, are you thinking about like leasing it?
Well, I'm thinking about the ongoing maintenance, which we have the funds for it, so it's not like.
That's not an uncommon arrangement, but WASDOT, when they do those O and M agreements, they put the insurance and the maintenance on you.
On you.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they've done with Terry's Corner.
That's what, I mean, that's
Okay.
kind of their template
It's a
to
great-
do that. And
Yeah.
just by way of background, WASDOT's trying to get out of the park and ride
Park and ride
business in general.
Right, because of their.
And not
And that's
having.
why I approached them,
Sure.
since it was in existence.
I mean, it's mostly that this is just a common phenomena of you get capital dollars to do the thing. But in however many years, all of this infrastructure will then have to be maintained.
Sure.
It's paving, it's striping, it's comfort station.
It's all that. I'm very, yeah, I'm.
Have we done any sort of?
See, if we were, and we are not a direct recipient of federal funds, then we would have preservation maintenance funding to go towards that, but we are not.
Okay. And so this arrangement though doesn't make us a direct recipient, it just makes us the owner and WASDOT is
Correct,
still the funding recipient. And then for parking, now maybe I'm already breaking the rules. I've met people there before, you don't need to go them all.
And there's no line.
And we all park and get in one car, right?
Mhm.
Is this, because it's transit, is this restricted for transit use in that parking area? Or can the community still park there and use it as a gathering place?
Still parking.
It's, I believe, I don't have an exact answer. It is, still park and ride. I will say that after talking with Representative Shavers, I know that the library was looking for additional parking for community members for the library. Whether that has anything to do with what you're saying, however, one of the things I tasked KPFF with was maintaining as many parking spaces as possible because, you know, I mean, pre-COVID, it was full when I was commuting.
Yeah.
They're still recovering from that. But is there gonna be someone there to monitor whether you're going to the mall? No.
I mean,
But
I wasn't
no.
on a bus. is
Right,
right.
right.
We all
Well,
got in a
and,
car.
but see, a lot of the folks here, what will happen is they use the park and ride to catch the ferry or
Yeah.
take the number one down to the
Yeah.
ferry. And as a fellow commuter, as you know, we continue to have problems with connecting service, especially during the summer months between the buses and the ferries. This particular location makes it much easier for a commuter to walk up the hill and not be stranded versus walking, 3 miles to Ken's Corner,
Right, yeah.
right? Which I thought made more sense here.
Yeah,
But we wouldn't have someone on site monitoring. That's not my intent.
Normally, the restrictions are maximum hours use, that's usually how they're monitored.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then
Not work 24 hours or something like that.
Okay. And then my last question just has to do with the ADA parking, my new awareness of things.
Sure.
I just wanna make sure that. Like sometimes we pick spots that seem nice, places pick spots that seem nice, not us. But there's a roundabout way you have to get there, and so I just wanna make sure that we're being very sensitive to where the ADA parking goes and that it's convenient and that it's not circuitous.
Right.
Jeff,
Jeff, are you able to expand that to show where the ADA currently is
Yeah.
located?
No, and
And
yeah.
can you also say what the requirement so if we have 190 spaces, how many ADA spaces, would we then?
Yeah. So
uh,
So currently we're showing about 198 stalls. That's pretty optimistic. We always assume after we lay something out that we may lose 10%, say in final design. So we need to at least account for that. But currently, based on that 198, we have a need for about 8 ADA stalls. And as far as location, it's a great question. Basically, those stalls need to be given priority to the shelters themselves. And so currently, they're located along the west edge of what would be sort of the transit loop to give them priority access to either that north shelter or the 2 south shelters at that point. So that's kind of where their tentative location is right now per the test fit. And so generally, as part of final design, that would be explored a little bit more, especially if some of these shelters shift around. Then again, we might need to reassess kind of where they are located.
So Jeff,
relative.
the horseshoe, that coverage, it
Yeah.
goes all the way around, and then where those handicap spots are identified, they would just be walking, riding through. They're not going around anywhere. That's open at that time.
Correct. Yeah. So
Okay.
the safety piece was pretty critical there, is that they could come from there and either, head to these stops over here or vice versa. They could take and depart this way to head over to, these shelters here. So they'd have that ability to go both
Currently,
ways.
there are.
Commissioner Bacon, I see your hand up. Thank you for waiting so patiently.
Thank you, Jenny. So I'm still back on the impervious surface conversation, just trying to get better understanding of this.
Yeah.
So Jeff, you said that from what I'm looking at, from where you pointed out earlier, it looks like we're talking about an increase of about 70% impervious surface. Can you talk about, what the current impervious surface square acreage is or square footage is versus what's anticipated here?
Yeah, and so I don't have the precise acreage, but basically about 40% to 50% of the site is impervious. And so the rest of it, we would probably get to, I mean, the green space here in theory would be green space. And so, but we still probably would have somewhere between 95% impervious here. So there are some things that the future project would have to do should this become a candidate site. And that's, generally increase their stormwater mitigation, basically, treatment, filtration, detain, and then release. This site, not to get into the details, but currently drains to the south. Off site, and there's an easement to drain to the parcel to the south. And so as part of any future design, we'd need to, one, take into account the increased impervious area, that volume of surface drainage, and then treat, detain, and then release it either at or below the current values that we've got. So the future design would need to take into account the increase in impervious. And I would say, to answer your question, it's about a 35 to 40% increase in impervious, probably. Actually, I take that back, probably between 40 and 50% increase to get us to about 90 to 95%.
So we'd be purchasing an expanded lot, including area that right now WashDOT just has as, like, I don't know, people have referred to it as a gravel pit. It's just unused space by WashDOT that they
Yeah.
currently own would
Yeah.
become part of this larger parking lot.
It is, yeah, and it's part of the parcel. So really what you're seeing, the outline of the lot, the transit center itself, that is really like the parcel limits. We're pushing to the edge. So, and yeah, so it's kind of an undeveloped portion. There's a metal shed over here. There is a small support building and then a few rubble piles. So it's really kind of like a logistics site for WashDOT, kind of like you were indicating there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, one of my frustrations with the current lot is that ADA, users are not well served because WashDOT does not maintain the lot. For example, at the north side there's a ramp that can get you up to the
I was
highway
just thinking
station.
that.
It's utterly caked with mud, literally. Commissioner Johnson, you would not be able to get through it at this point, and I've seen people go loop around all the way around the post office, up the street there to get there. So the other thing is, one of my mates that commutes via Vanpool pulled into the current parking lot. There's no striping in the parking lot, right? Zero. It's all gone. And they pulled into park in the afternoon. When they came back, the car that they had pulled in behind was still there, and there was a car behind them. So they were trapped in the lot because WashDOT doesn't stripe the lot.
Well, and it's actually Ferry's responsibility at the moment because they're leasing it, but I feel.
There's an active email thread that I have with Shavers and Dave Paul and the Vanpool person, and various people just trying to get just basic striping so that people aren't blocked in.
I can tell you, I can't count, and Pete can attest to this, and Mag, the number of calls we get to tow people because they think we are responsible for the law. So it took a lot of digging from the state for me to finally determine who was in fact had the lease. So.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
Councilperson Darrow.
Thank you. I was, with regard to the pavement, I've got a couple of questions, and one was, you normally use a storm drain vault under pavements to store excess water and then potentially use it, bleed it out into a swale or something to this effect. But the idea of just draining it out, does not sound wise to me. So would you speak to the matter of handling, the drainage off the impervious surface?
Yeah, you bet. And so, as part of any future design, they need to follow the Washington State Department of Ecology Stormwater Manual. And so, it has what they call best management practices. And so, to your point, we wouldn't be collecting and just putting it into a pipe and getting rid of it. There is the ability there to basically collect, to treat, and the treatment part, I think, is where you're kind of getting at with the swales. And so, we have the potential to do some swales potentially in the island for the transit center itself. This southern kind of green space here currently is where a lot of the site drains to. So we would probably, whatever future designer would probably take advantage of this area to do another kind of water feature, either detainment, open channel type swale, things of that nature. So those are the first kind of tests to try and do that treatment. Where we can get enough treatment from there. If you can't get enough treatment from that, then you do need to also add potentially storm filtration vaults under the ground. And then ultimately, if the flow rates coming out of that exceed the current rates, or beyond the rates that the DOE manual allows for, then we would need to detain some. So to your point, I think any future team would look at, green stormwater infrastructure to be able to treat that way, then stormwater vaults and filtration systems below grade. And then if needed, there would be some form of detention on site too. And that would be a literal vault under the ground, under the parking lot that would detain and then just let out the flows so it didn't inundate the system to the south.
Yeah, that's not too surprising, but because Commissioner Bacon brought up the subject about the impervious nature of it, I did want to get a comment on that because it wasn't described at all. And then also with regard to the age of the existing pavement compared to the new, I mean, we put in a brand new pavement and whatever the substrate, the laying foundation, and then the other disintegrates. It's 5 years. So is there any?
It's a good question. A lot of the pavement out there, we will say, is suffering. So especially again in this southern area, there is almost a big depression here. So to your point, though, we would try to salvage as much as possible what's out there because this whole area has been treated for pavement. And so I think probably what would happen is you would scrape off the old pavement, rework the sub base, use that as best as you could, and then, add new pavement to it. So to your point, I believe that the whole site would be repaved with new pavement section. If there was ability to kind of what we call mill and fill parts of it, definitely we would. But I think just given some of the age of the pavement that we're seeing out there now, and it sounds like folks in the room have seen it too, it likely would be a replacement. But the subgrade, I think what's out there as best as we could, or as best as any future team could, they would reuse that. So I think you're replacing the pavement, hopefully saving some on the subgrade though, and not having to rework the whole site.
Well, thank you very much. And for a matter of the record, I'm mindful of capital projects and contractors that they are constantly trying to reduce their costs and still be legal within the terms of the contract. So the quality control piece. And so this is my indirect method of saying we don't compromise quality if we're going to go big. We're going to do a big project. That's
No, and that's a great point for sure. So,
Any other questions?
And this site, when I looked at it, I was just thinking about buses. But the van pool call out was actually something that I was like, oh yeah. So if we have expanded utilization of van pools, the van pools get loaded and unloaded in that circle as well? Or how are we accommodating the van pool riders?
it's a good question. I don't know, Melinda, if you have an answer, but I think that's part of future design.
We was trying to.
But I'm thinking it would not be safe.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it could be that we work in the kind of pickup drop off area, or as part of final design, work through having an area.
We could
for them.
identify a location there.
I mean, I'm not gonna be a micromanager of design, but I do wanna make sure that if, I would think that van pool could definitely be a growing area of utilization, so I don't wanna I wanna make sure we don't outgrow that feature and that use.
No, I think that's
Agreed.
great. Van pool pickup there.
Yeah, and I think some priority in that future project would be given to the van pool riders, just as some priority and location is given to ADA. I think you have to embrace the folks that are doing the van pool
There's a lot
and
of
give them
pickup
some
and drop off
advantage.
there.
Cause I don't wanna be on one of Craig's emails chains that he's got going with the people.
People.
Yeah, I really don't. I just try to avoid that up front.
As a safety perspective, you do not want van pool intermixing with your coaches, because you're already gonna have an issue. You ever wanna see a cluster, go down to Linwood City Center.
Okay.
So there's the whole transit center there with all the coaches, and people do not pay attention, and they walk right in front of them. We've had wheelchairs come flying out between them and fly into the side of coaches. I mean, you wanna limit, you wanna really make it obvious, here's the walking paths. This is coaches only.
Okay.
And if you wanna do the cutouts for the vans, because they're gonna come in, everybody's gonna load and you're gonna go, they're not gonna be parked.
Right.
So that's, your kiss and go is a good spot to do that, but you don't wanna intermix them with the coaches, because people aren't gonna pay attention.
Okay.
They're gonna
I've
park,
been
they're
in
gonna
Mountain
walk
Lake
across
Drive, and you're right.
yeah, it's, yeah.
Typically what happens is, or sort of the best practice, everybody parks in a certain area
Mhm.
in the Clinton Park and Ride. We just, vans will sort of adopt, like, we're gonna be here, and you don't spread everybody across the.
That you cover in one spot.
Yeah, we just drive there, people jump in and we go away, so there really wouldn't be a need, there's no advantage to going into where the coaches are.
That's cute.
So,
So I'm spatially challenged, so that cutout, does that accommodate 2 cars? 2 cars in a van?
No, that's a good question. I think if we just kind of give it perspective, we could see one of the cars under here. So it is to scale. So I'd say that's probably a good 3, 4, 5 stalls there. And a lot of it depends on how folks arrive and how they depart, just like the buses, So it kind of depends on how people drive, but there should be adequate space for between 3 to 5 pickups, to be happening.
And I was seeing it as going in parallel.
Well, and that's-
Exactly. Yeah.
Now that
Yeah.
we got close there, I
You're gonna
see
park,
cars
then
in
you
there.
can get.
It's like the airport, right? Drop people off.
Like the
Yeah, they
airport.
just did.
Yeah, I mean, they're
aerial,
just gonna
yeah,
pull in, it's
so
gonna
that they
just,
can overlay it.
So Melinda, what's the timeline from hearing from the FDA?
Well, you know, we have been really blessed because you have someone in FTA compliance, so. We must work through WashDOT. So WashDOT is the one who's communicating with FTA, but I just happened to have a conversation with the administrator for FTA that this project was coming down the pipe. And how quickly we needed a return. Jeff got, we got a return at the first worksheet within, I think it was 7 days, not more than 10. Is that correct, Jeff?
That's correct. Yeah.
So we got all of FTA's comments, which is unheard of from environmental. So Jeff is in the process now of responding to all of their questions. So
Yeah.
I am really in hopes that by the end of summer, we could look at trying to come to a decision. This is all based, so what happens at this point is FTA will decide the level of NEPA, and then they will direct, Jeff, you might be able to answer this better than I, that, we do have would-be oil that was across the street from this property, so there will need to be borings to determine level of contamination. Can you add anything to that for me, Jeff?
Yeah, really, the phase one identified the would-be oil as a potential what they call recognized environmental condition. And based on the last study for the Kent's Corner site, the FTA folks were a little bit concerned about migration across the roadway even. So phase one indicated it'd be good to, do a little bit of boring along the north side of the WashDOT property to assess if any contamination has migrated. So that will be something the FTA is very interested in because they don't want to give you money to clean up your site. So, so part of it is understanding that piece.
So I'm probably being really liberal saying summer because the thought is they're gonna come back, we're gonna have to do that piece. Then they're gonna determine what, if any, and how much of a cleanup needs to be done.
Yeah.
And who would be
Before
responsible for the
We
cleanup?
would be,
What's that?
we would be if we want to purchase that property.
Well, with
Yeah.
mitigation rights, under MOTCA, that we would have a right to pursue the person that was responsible.
So we could pursue WashDOT for the cleanup.
Well, you go down the chain of title and you find whoever put the bad juju in the dirt, they're all on they're on the hook for it, so.
Oh, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Melinda doesn't know everything.
It's a pretty developed, in the environmental world, it's called MOTCA, it's the Model Toxic Control Act or something like that.
Okay.
But we're chasing down prior owners of a dry cleaner on another site I'm working on, so you just go down the title chain.
I see.
Look for insurance policies,
Okay.
warm bodies.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
So, having done civil process of all kinds as a constable, the idea of actually claiming the cost with regard to a cleanup is like a nightmare in itself, because they could be dead, they could be, any number.
Well, in reality, a lot of times you're looking for, insurance policies that are, because they're, most civil claims have got a statute of limitation, but under MOTCA, we're going back decades looking for.
Okay, but in any event, it's conceivable that we get stuck with it anyway. What I'm saying.
Right, I'm just raising that, but there is a chance, there's a chance, every once in a while, sometimes you go to successor ownerships on these oil companies and you do find a viable company that has paid.
That has money.
So
Well,
we're
yeah,
gonna,
'cause
we're
like-
gonna exercise those options first.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeff, thank you for giving us the update today.
You
Yes,
betcha.
thank you,
You
Jeff.
betcha.
Informative.
And thanks for the great discussion you.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Fantastic. Okay, we are gonna move to business item number 5, and I will hand it over to our executive director.
Okay, thank you. Business item number 5, I am requesting authorization for one additional FTE for the position of Facilities and Maintenance Director. During the last year and a half, I have examined the entire operation and current organizational structure of Island Transit. I waited to do a restructuring until I had a thorough understanding of our departments, processes, and also engaged outside sources, as you are aware, for financial review and executive leadership training. Effective today, I have restructured our organization within our approved 2026 budget by reclassifying some positions while keeping all of the employees whole at their current rate of pay with room and scale left to grow. I have restructured for maximum efficiency and have gone from 10 direct reports to 6, reclassifying top performers to director level positions at the current grade 15. Today, I'm requesting the board approve one additional FTE, a facilities and maintenance director, to oversee facilities and maintenance. This new position will provide needed assistance in moving capital construction projects forward amongst many other duties overseeing the departments. We will request a mid-year budget adjustment for the hiring range of approximately 116 to the midpoint of 146. Question?
This director would report directly to you, correct?
Correct.
Let's just make sure.
So you have 7 direct reports.
I would have 6.
This
Five-
would include
5 directors, yeah, that would be one of the 5, and then my executive assistant and clerk.
I didn't have. I mean, I ran through just off the top of my head divisions that I'm aware of, and I don't know how you wouldn't have a facilities director as a direct report. So I feel like this is a very realistic request in terms of departmental divisions and responsibilities. And so it like instinctively that it just structurally makes sense.
And the maintenance piece is huge anyway with an operation like this. I mean, it's Chair Bright, I'd be willing to make a motion. I move to authorize one additional FTE for the position of a facilities and maintenance director at the pay grade E15, salary range of 160K to 146K to be funded by a mid-year budget adjustment. Second.
A motion and a second to approve business item number 5. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? Looking for Melanie to see if she raises her hand. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And.
You, Melinda.
Yes. We will go. Back to you.
I know, I'm.
So we added the business item number 6.
Oh, pardon me, I'm sorry. Business item number 6, discussion of having a board meeting on Camino.
So I put this on the agenda, and under the previous executive director, there had a long time ago been a discussion about doing this. I'm not familiar with Camino Island and particularly Island Transit on Camino Island. And sometimes this board struggles to remember that Camino Island is a part of Island Transit, just, and thankfully we have a representative, Commissioner St. Clair. I think it would be hugely
All 3
beneficial.
commissioners actually represent Camino Island.
True.
Okay, well, I want to be very clear about that because Commissioner St. Clair also thinks she's the only one who represents Camino.
Fair enough.
There are 3 of us who never forget.
I stand corrected. I actually appreciate it. Nonetheless, I don't represent Camino Island.
That's fair.
But I make decisions about Camino Island as well as several other board members here. And I think it would be beneficial to see the Island Transit facility there. Presumably we'd take a tour and meet the staff over there. And I'm not saying when this should happen, but I would say sometime in 2026, presumably before the winter arrives, I think it would be beneficial for us to schedule a board meeting on Camino Island. And I just want to get the sense of, and that doesn't mean if you can't come, you can certainly, we can zoom in. But I mean, I would plan to be there physically to see the facilities.
is there somewhere that we should be able to have a business meeting?
Well, and therein lies the rub, right? Which actually, case in point, it probably would be great for everyone to see the facility because we could go in and move around the break room and go right back out the door because it's small. But we have a community center there that I think could actually host our meeting.
We've had one at the library before there too.
Sure, and then we take a tour.
The county has a meeting
Do they?
space that's bigger than this in their county building on Camino Island.
Okay, yeah,
I mean, the whole thing is that the county serves it. So we have a building and there's a space there and.
great.
I would favor it, especially if it's widely publicized,
It's free.
so that everybody on Camino knows that it came.
Well, presumably they come and, you know,
Be
give us and be part of public comment,
Well, that's true. but-
give us comments. So,
My one question is, and this could be the difference between county rules and a transit board rules. When we go to Camino, we can have discussions there, we're only legally. How does that work? We can only actually legally convene the board on topics related just to Camino Island, so we can't go there for a general business meeting, and we can't make any
No,
decision.
that, we're not,
Okay.
we don't have that prohibition.
And then you can make decisions at that meeting in a different location than here,
Yeah, absolutely.
okay.
You actually, the way the statutes were, we could have a meeting in Portland.
Really? Wow, let's go.
Field trip.
I would.
Maybe some other place.
Yeah, it's there.
I'm keeping that at 5,000 now,
Bill and I are
yeah.
going to North, in Portland. It's workwear, footwear.
It happens sometimes when there's like an industry retreat or, that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I was just thinking we just had a board retreat where we actually had a business item.
Yeah, there's no prohibition.
So this is not anything we have to have
It's
action
just
on, it's
sense
just
of
a
the board.
takeaway for consideration.
We will look to do
That's a
that
question.
before the end of the year as long as we,
Okay, sure.
yeah,
Maybe
Great.
not in 9 o'clock.
okay, sounds good.
And we'll carve. Okay, with that, we will, Craig, are you good?
Good.
Okay, we went to the executive director report.
Okay, just a couple things, as we're nearing the end of our meeting time. I'd like to give you a little update on the long range plan. We are nearing the close of phase 1 of community engagement. And we've had some great participation from the community. To date, we've received, and I know that the number exceeds this, over 100 survey responses. A significant uptick in travel on social media and website platforms has been noted. Nearly 12,000 views on Facebook, 1,190 views on Instagram, and a count of 17,992 website visitors since March 23rd. So our message to the community is getting out there, which is what we wanted and is critical for gathering input to the long range plan. Outreach efforts to Island County's HOAs continue with over 20 who've agreed to share content in their monthly newsletters, in addition to scheduling presentations. This is ideal to reach community members who do not typically ride. The team has also presented at 3 council meetings and have several events through the end of May. To date, we've received 3 solid applications for our Community Advisory Committee, and that recruitment process is open until May 8th of 2026. And just as a reminder, we're looking for 4 to 7 members for that committee. Also, I wanted to point out maintenance staff kicked off the automatic passenger counter project on April 28th. So we have awarded, and the contract was awarded to a company called ETA. Engineering staff will be on site next week to evaluate the buses and discuss mobilization for installation. Tentative schedule for installation is over the next 3 months or so, and it will be great to begin collecting data during our September service change. Again, that data, it takes well over a year to really establish patterns, so this is going to really help us to determine service levels. And I'll wait for Craig on this one. Tree farm. I waited specifically. Legal, Matt has proposed a red line response to the recent documents sent by the Whitby Camino Land Trust to make the transition of property. The request is straightforward and we hope to have the transfer buttoned up sometime by June or July. So, looking forward to that. And lastly, we had added a couple of months ago, meetings and events attended by the executive director. It looks rather light. There were only 2, and I wanted to point out because I was on vacation for a couple of weeks. So, other than that, any questions?
I just have a comment.
Yes.
Brad, presented at the town council meeting on Tuesday and did just an outstanding job of walking us through the long range plan. So just, I want to give you a shout out. Thank you for that. We typically don't have a lot of people attending our meetings. However, we have in the last several months. So the feedback was really, great. So thank you.
Great job, Brad.
I echo that too with regard to Oak Harbor City Council. Brad did a great job. I praise them in public and praise them in private. So thank you, Brad.
Brad also did a fantastic job in Langland City Council.
Shall we all sing Kumbaya now? Okay, we will hand over to our parents.
Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see Joe Johnson in the building.
I know
It's nice to be back.
Just giving you a May update. We currently have 71 operators, 55 on Whitby out of 63 possible, 16 on Camino out of 18 possible. We have a new class, beginning on May 27th with the possibility of having 9 in that class to get us totally filled up if we wanted to be.
Wow. That's great.
Possibly, not saying that we have 9, but we could have 9. Next slide. We have 1 operator in training that will complete in June. And so we have 2 exits in April. But we have, again, potentially a large class coming, that will be able to, fill us back up again. So as it shows, we've still been holding steady, but we did have, 2 exits in April, a retirement and 1 left. Do we have any questions whatsoever?
Was the person that's training in Coopville this morning in a big blue bus?
Should be, but I don't know.
Liz is not here to answer that question for us today.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Is the training going well or not?
When I was coming here, I saw the blue bus and I thought, and it said training and I thought, oh, they're training in Coopville. That's kind of a good thing.
From all indications, everyone is doing extremely well that's in our programs right now.
Nice.
So,
Are you able to speak it, legally anyway, with regards to the one who departed?
if you guys wanna have, conversations about who or why they departed, you can, please speak to Melinda at this.
Yeah, mainly, I'm always curious about the whys because they're kind of an underlying, potential.
She'll be able to give you a rundown.
Thank you.
So I just want to say that this new report that we get about hiring and separations, the visibility here it's a short part of the meeting, but it's so important because that got away from us several years ago. We knew we were really low, but my gosh, this tells us
Good.
where we are. So I always look forward to this report.
You call me Brian.
Planning and outreach update.
Brad's gonna do the presentation and Meg gratefully put together a package for us because those are so hard to see up there.
Was I supposed to pass? No, you're not. Oh, let me hand that over.
Yeah,
I have mine.
Terrence is a tough act to follow, but so last month, we had presented this for the first time. We had gotten some feedback from the board members. We've tried to incorporate those changes. As you can see in yellow on your first page, you know, there's a number of things about this that are still in development, we're still working on. But you asked for an expansion of how we represented drivers here, and we're still working on that, because, you know, obviously, we've had the changes in the number of drivers, you know, so it hasn't been flat this whole time. But two things that that we added in here that I thought were kind of useful is the orange bar, the blue bar up the top is the budgetary maximum that is allowed. And then the orange bar is how many operators are required in the full-time bid that goes through over that 13-month period. So you can kind of see. So this is still under development, but we are making some progress. Next slide, please. So as we walk through this, you can see that our 2026 ridership through the end of March is still improving over 2025. We like to see that. And it is progressing quite nicely, and we're hoping that we will see with high gas prices. We have anecdotal evidence at this point. We haven't gotten through the April numbers that we are seeing a little bit of an increase in ridership.
Is this fixed route, right?
Yes, sorry, this is fixed route for both Camino and Whitby. Suggestion, could we make this a 13-month, so we can see year over year? Well, the blue bar is 2025 and the orange bar is 2026. Thank you. That was obvious to everybody but me. Sorry.
And Brett, you might be gonna talk about this in a future slide, but when we see the increases, do we try to isolate whether or not the uptick is based on new fixed routes? Like I'm thinking about Admiral's Cove was new in April, and was that a contributor to the increase?
At this point, not yet, because our service change didn't go into effect until March 27th. So, this is year over year. And I can tell you though, as a quick follow-up to that,
Yes.
we are seeing some nice increases on the new routes to the base.
Oh, good.
The daily base ridership is on weekdays is anywhere from 6 to 8. But the weekend ridership, the first 2 weekends we had it out, we got 5 riders each weekend. And then the third weekend it was out, it was at 22 riders. And then the fourth weekend it came out at 43 riders.
Outstanding.
So we're starting to see
That's what I was.
the folks in the barracks use us to get off base. And that should be we're hoping that trend continues. See how long that trend line can go.
Does that put them in the shopping district?
It would.
Sorry.
It is a sailor's town.
Yep, city revenue, sales tax for all, I mean, you know,
Right.
a general improvement.
Great.
Next slide, please. So, our ridership, revenue, or ridership per mile is the words I'm struggling to get out there. We're having a nice efficiency increase, that increase in ridership. Our miles, you know, had stayed the same year to year because our service change hadn't really kicked in, so, you know, we got that, nice little bump in efficiency there. Mileage and hours, please. Next slide.
Wait, I'm sorry, can you go back? How do you calculate the efficiency? You do mileage and then number of riders?
Yes, so it's total ridership, and the formula, this was something that was requested last time, was an explanation. The upper right-hand corner, it's total ridership divided by the total revenue miles equals our riders per mile.
Great. Thank you, Brad.
Yes, ma'am. We'll go to mileage an hour. Again, this is one that we're still trying to noodle with to see if we can get this to be more descriptive. But this is where we're at year to date for 2026 in comparison to 2025. So we're coming along quite nicely. About a quarter of the year has gone by. 2025, we had about 2.5 million revenue miles, and in 2026 for the first quarter, we're a little over 600,000. So we're right on par to match what you would expect 25% of last year to be. Now, this is where the service change will kick in. So as we go forward, then you'll start seeing a difference there because we're just operating more miles and more hours.
You're referring to the March service change we just had.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And then cost per rider. So, and again, here in the upper left, and we've got it in here now. We will probably try to bump up the font size on that a little bit, but we did, insert some formulas for how we calculate this. Also at the request of Commissioner Bacon, I put together a short memo with a explainer, if anybody wants to have a written example, or explanation. So, we're starting to see this. We are working on this. We're playing with the colors a little bit here to try to get so that, some of the colors, even when you get it in print, sometimes they are a little too alike and you don't know which route off to the side we're talking about. So that's another way we're trying to adjust it and make it a little bit better. And this is an overall look. It includes 2025 versus 2026, and it includes both islands. And then our on-time percentage. Our on-time percentage.
Hold on. Yeah, I was gonna go to the previous one. Yeah, I agree.
So in general, it looks like 2026 is way more expensive per rider than 2025. Dramatically more expensive. Why is that? It can be that, the first 3 months of the year are our winter months. My guess is as we go through this in the warmer months, we're gonna find out our ridership goes up because people aren't in the rain.
Correct, no. Your reason is, I think I understand what you're saying, but if this is month to month, the higher cost in 2026 is we pay more. Our insurance costs went up, our gas prices went up, and so our fixed cost of running those routes go up. So if your ridership doesn't go up, your cost per rider always goes up. So it's somewhat tied to what you're saying, which is how many riders you have, but the number of riders in January to January would be relatively consistent unless there's growth. The reason that Craig calling out why is it so much more for each rider is because we're spending more money to operate the system. And if ridership doesn't increase proportionally, the cost per ride is gonna increase.
And
That's what you were telling me.
and what you're explaining there makes me realize that I'm doing a job of miscommunicating. So 2025 is the full year statistics and the 2026 is year to date.
Year to date, so it's a shorter time
So
frame, so it's gonna.
that's something,
Then you might be right.
then that's something that I need to communicate on here. But
Yeah, but somewhere in the middle is the truth, and so that's,
Right.
both are right.
We're
It's just
both
the way
right.
that it's being represented, so I think that's a great, well.
Quick question.
So,
I'm still gonna play the new guy card for a little longer.
No,
So,
sorry.
Route 9 is at 184.57. Would you comment on that? Just because it's so outstanding.
that's Route 58.
Which is
It is Skagit Head. That only operates during the commuter hours. It has 3 runs in the morning, 4 runs, I think, in the evening. And we noticed that as well. So we went back and looked, and ridership on the 58 is down.
okay.
We went through and compared those specific numbers because that jumped out at us. That may be one because down in Skagit Head, there are no shelters. Folks are out often at unmarked locations, waiting to get picked up at flag stops.
Okay.
This could be something that is impacted, or it could be that we lost some regular riders or folks who have decided to drive down to the park and rides. It is, the 58 feeds into the Clinton Ferry.
Okay.
And so these may be commuters who are deciding to drive down to the park and ride lots.
Okay, well, this may be something to increase efficiency that could be looked at in the future, but it was just so outstanding. I thought I'd ask. Thank you.
Yes, it stood out to us too. So hold on. So are these numbers comparable to other rural transit agencies? We haven't started comparing ourselves yet. Okay. It'll be interesting in the fullness of time, maybe in the fall, to figure that out.
I can tell you that, we were recently sent a chart, with a number of agencies on it, and we happened to be one of them. It was looking at the year 2023, NTD reports, and there was, I think, 25 or 30 agencies represented on there that were small or rural. And the average cost per ride was $51 per trip. However, for our particular agency, we were at about $31 to $32 per trip. So we fell under the average for that particular chart back from 2023. So that has come across my desk recently. But as far as using in these 2 years, I haven't gone and compared us to others. All right.
The National Transit Database reports typically 1 year behind, which is, Oak Harbor actually pulled this data from NTD from 2023. But it's a great place that anybody can go to look at those comparisons against like-size agencies. To look at numbers. The problem is it's lagging in a year or two.
Any additional questions?
Apparently Vanya has the question.
Okay, to put my finance head and ask, it would be more clearer if we compare last March versus this March instead of the whole year of data versus 3 months of data. Because this is pretty easy to achieve, and then, Mr. Chinner Johnson, comment will be really, related to comparing month versus month, this year versus last year month, instead of 1 year data.
Would you prefer that?
I think we should apples to apples, so we should, if you're doing the, quarters, the first quarter of 26, we should have the first quarter on 25.
Yeah,
I agree,
Okay.
yeah, comparables, they need to be.
Because we can't really.
because you can't boil that down to really figure out where we are. You're gonna understand that.
Right. Agree.
Is Celine safe to move past this slide? I don't want her to get carpal tunnel from going back and forth.
All right, well, we should ask Commissioner Bacon, has any questions?
She's been watching
Okay.
for the race.
Yeah, no, I've been watching. I just remembered that last time I kept us, really bogged down a lot. So I'm trying not to do that this time. I'm allowing others to take my place in.
Thanks, Melanie.
And then, here for our on-time performance, this is, last year versus, total of last year versus year-to-date for 2026. We can adjust the date range for this as well. But as you can see, we have an excellent 90.72% on-time performance going right now. So it's always nice to see ourselves over the 90% threshold. Great question. It has always been my understanding that a bus can never leave early. So on these early percentages, are these departures? Arrivals. Arrivals, okay, thanks. Yeah, and what'll happen at a time point, a bus will show up early. And then because it's a time point, they sit there and they hold until the time arrives, so that they catch up. Thanks. And then lastly, there's just a 1-page update, most of which was already covered by Melinda on, what's
Your
been going on.
numbers
the
look
longer-
better. The 124 over my 100.
Yeah, and there is some variation in the numbers because we get a number of these surveys in writing. Because we have been taking them out in writing until these come in. And so then when you ask Celine and I, we're including the number of written surveys we've got. But if you look at, online, how many have done, so that's where the variation comes in just a little bit. And with that, pending your questions, quick question. With regard to surveys, there are those who are big responders just by instinct. I mean, they respond to everything, but there are those outliers. And Melinda or anybody with regard to this long range surveys, do we have any way of kind of getting a sense of non-responders who should be responding, or they have an intrinsic interest to the transit, but they're not replying? I'm not saying that there is any way around that, but
I don't know that I have an answer for that.
Okay.
You know, it's fairly hard to measure. Do you have an answer for that?
Celine has,
Oh, Celine has. one. Okay.
my lip reading skills are failing this morning, that's why I'm asking you to respond.
That's a great question, and what we've been getting is, 2 points to that. We've been getting a lot of, emails that are coming to us. We have community engagement at islandtransit.org, and we do get a number of people who'd rather not take the survey because they just want to give us a point, a specific point. And what we've been doing, and we've been doing this for a while now, is we log those comments. They don't get included in the survey, but they get included in the overall long range plan that we give to Fair Pairs. And then the other thing that we're actually pretty proud, I did look online today, and we have almost 140 surveys. And when we were talking to Fair Pairs the other day, I felt bad because I thought, oh no, we're gonna only maybe have 150 to 200 responses. And they said, no, actually, that is amazing because they did a study in King County a couple of years ago, and they have a bajillion people living there, and they had 98 responses. So I'm like patting ourselves on the back there, definitely, so.
and then, just as a matter of awareness, because standardized surveys will lead to sometimes standardized replies. And so those emails that you're speaking of, they can point to an unmet demand or something that's just off the charts of our common thinking. And so that's great that they're doing.
We are also getting comments in person. We've attended so many meetings, that, I mean, we've had so many different meetings over the last couple of months. People are coming to the meetings. We just were at Holland Happening, and we had engaged with almost 500 people, which is crazy. And we probably got 100 people who came over specifically had a comment for us, so we just document it.
Thank you, that's excellent news.
And the survey does have a comment section where you can write in, and I don't know that we cap the number of words or
We
characters
don't
or
have the
anything like
number.
that. So it's free form, if somebody wants to write us.
The reason I mentioned this, when you're dealing with constituents, you know, you've got constituents got some kind of heartburn about some issue, and that's all they're concerned about, and they want to talk and get it out. They don't want to take a survey, they just want to deal with it. So I see that that's being taken care of, so thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity, if I may, to really extend my thanks to the outreach team, and all of the employees who've been involved, because we've taken outreach to a new level. I was very fortunate to have a great article done, in the Whidbey Record,
Yes.
to talk about we need the community's input. The idea was get the word out there that we're soliciting the input. Camino, we have the community center there. When I met with Beverly, she told me they had 2 people that take the bus to the community center. When we found out that they serve lunch Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to 60 to 80 participants, and that's when the outreach team is going to be there. So it's about getting the word out. There's people that just don't know what's available. The HOAs, you know, that was something that Beverly did for me in giving me those lists, so that then the outreach team could then reach out to them, and yeah, they're willing to do newsletters, or, you know, put the information in. So we're really, trying to think out of the box, and you guys, I know I've pushed you really hard, and I'm just very appreciative of what you've done.
So I think I mentioned this last time as a suggestion, I'm just gonna repeat it, and that is, if you've got 60 to 80 people at a gathering, it's fantastic to have the outreach team and that coordinating. I'm just thinking it'd be great to have a bus pull up as well. And the reason I suggest this is because I've had people ask me, to my absolute astonishment, how do I ride Island Transit? And it's a serious question. And I just like, well, just
Get on the bus.
get on the bus.
It's a great idea. They can make that arrangement if they have a spare bus at, Camino.
How do I
think
get on
that's
the
an
bus? I've
excellent
had people ask. Wait for the doors to open,
No,
step on the
more
bus.
than that, though. I mean, in fairness, like I honestly don't really know how to ride the bus. I don't know when they come. I don't know what goes to Coopville. I don't want to stop a bunch of places. Like I mean, I can get on the website and try, but it's not as intuitive as, I don't want to stand there for 2 hours, right?
Sure.
So, and I think especially in rural areas, I think people who've lived in urban areas understand the concept better. My husband, New York, he gets it. I literally am like, I don't understand what this, I walk to the end of my driveway, like. It's not as intuitive, and so I do think,
Perfect.
in fairness, that I know to like walk on when the door opens. But what I don't know is when's that door gonna open, how long am I gonna have to stand there, where is it gonna take me? How do I catch it back?
I
That's
think
not
that's where our
intuitive.
travel trainer comes in, and I would imagine you folks are taking Paula with you
Oh, yeah.
to the Camino Center so that we can demonstrate to them, we have people on staff that actually can ride with them and show the road.
It's quadrupled since we started with people asking us for travel training.
Right.
So we've got a number of people, including going to the churches and showing them how to get on the bus and making these appointments with them. So we're trying to do right now.
And address the matter of getting stranded. What I'm stating is that people aren't savvy with the buses and they get on it and they think they're gonna be able to get back. So it's sort of like a ferry, the tide's out and you can't get the ferry back even though it's scheduled. So I would say that it needs to be thorough, so that,
And I think the operators, per my personal experience, is the operators are doing an extraordinary job of coaching people when they do get on the bus, or if they're getting on the wrong bus, or another bus needs to come. And I also think that there's kind of muscle memory, if you will, with the
Yeah,
operators. That when somebody is a repeat rider, like they greet them by name, they know where they're going. You're going to the courthouse? I'll take you to the courthouse. So I think once they get over their angst, because I think it's a legitimate thing to have angst about trying something new, getting stranded somewhere, and being able to overcome that, whether it's the travel trainer, who I know y'all do a great job of making people feel comfortable and confident about how to look online and where to look online. Celine got an email from me probably on a weekend because I couldn't find the transit thing that I use because I have it saved on my computer and it was being refreshed and changed and then it came back. But that's my guide, and some people just need to have their handheld given the guide so that they can move forward, so, right.
So there is, I mean, it's a complex issue, and I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Johnson. There is part of this, whereas the door opens and I'm scared to get on the bus. A woman told me a couple months ago, it's too scary to get on an Island Transit bus. Like, and that's why I think it would be so valuable for, I think that's a great phrase, travel training. Just to let somebody who's scared get on with their friends at a community gathering and see that an Island Transit bus inside isn't scary.
They're beautiful.
Are they worried about who the other riders are?
In this case, with this person, it was the other riders and
Yeah.
making assumptions about the other riders.
may I speak to that? I say orders of magnitude increase of use of the bus on the base, on the Naval Air Station. The more you get of a broad base of population and stuff, because if you got these people camping out in the back of the bus and they look really dragged out and potentially who knows what kind of condition they are, it generates a kind of a stereotype of which, substance abuse, these sorts of things, not necessarily a threat, but creates this kind of fear factor. But when you have a broad base of people getting on the bus and getting off the bus, then it reduces that the fear factor. I would say here. Yeah.
I think it's good to point out too that our operators, especially at the end of the line, we don't allow camping out in the back of the bus. So operators go back and do a safety check to ensure that, nobody's left anything on the bus.
Okay.
So that they're always being aware of it.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Brad Wendler. Other business. Any comments from the board members? I have two questions. Please forgive me. I'm gonna ask them really quickly. On the automatic counters, because I know you're in that process now. Will all of the buses get them, or these are going to be their replacement vehicles in the not so distant future, so they're not getting them? How are you prioritizing?
Fixed route only at this,
And all of the coaches?
fixed route.
Okay. And then my second question is, during COVID, we were installing the air filtration systems on all of the buses. Is that continuing when we're acquiring new?
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay.
Yes.
How often are the filters changed?
It's, so you're not, you have filters and the system uses lights that have chemical on the light, and that's what it sends out. So all the buses actually carry that system on it. On a Gillig, you're not gonna see it because it's hidden. On the other buses, you'll see an aluminum unit that sits on the bus, so.
But our standard is to continue the installation of those will be
Yeah,
required. Perfect. Thank you. I just, thanks for keeping up at night.
No, they do disinfecting to each side.
Okay. So I have a question about the finance report. So on the third page, the operations report, the second section and the third section. So I'll literally give a,
Third page,
so it's the. Yes.
the operations.
With the yellow,
Operations
Yeah.
report.
the yellow.
Okay.
Third physical page, maybe I should say. There's the monthly service miles, the year-to-date service miles, et cetera, and that shows that we have, it looks like in total about a 5%, 6% increase, right? Okay, so in the section below, so remember that service miles have increased by 5%. Our service hours have decreased by 5%. How does that?
Is that an
There's
efficiency
something
metric?
obvious that I'm not understanding.
So,
there.
An efficiency metric.
It's related with the efficiency of the part as well. So we have increased miles. And Brad, please correct me and.
And if you, I mean, I don't need to put you on the spot if you wanna bring an answer next time. But it was just something that I felt like, okay, if our service miles have increased 5%, that
Yeah,
probably,
that's a valid question.
probably
Or at least
So it's monthly service miles compared to which one?
monthly service hours. If it goes up 5%, if the miles go up 5%, I would assume that means our service hours have increased, not decreased. So,
Our operators have schedule and we, as much as I know, schedules are pretty study. And this related with the service hours. And the miles, as we saw on the report, increased a little bit versus last year, so we have increased miles. But the hours are pretty much flat. And I think that shows the efficiency that we provide more miles.
Efficiency with scheduling the
Efficiency.
operators.
But
And it could potentially also be in the paratransit side, because paratransit is an on-demand service. I mean, so, I can't,
oh, that's true.
without diving into this, I'm, you know, not entirely certain on this answer. But it could be that our paratransit service hours are down a little bit for the year to date.
Okay.
And that could be where a little bit of the difference comes in as well too. We'll definitely dive into this and.
Yeah, let's parking lot that, if you guys do it as a takeaway to kind of drill into that. That would be
So
great.
another question.
Sir,
The fourth section from the bottom, the fuel section, we obviously know that fuel prices have increased substantially. And it's interesting to see that we have paid $3.24 for a gallon of diesel. And driving up here, I think diesel was at
Yeah,
$7.90.
Good point.
What's that?
That's a good point.
$7.19. It makes me wonder, do we have contracts with the diesel providers at certain prices, and how long do those extend out?
Prices change daily. Depending on what the price is at the time they fuel, that's the price we pay.
So we don't have a contract with them?
Yes, we do have a contract. And then it's at a lower price than what the gas stations give.
Because we're buying in full.
yeah.
Yes, and
it's a direct.
we're at a contract where our delivery fee is only $50. So where a lot of other people are paying $300 every time your truck delivers.
Leila, will you say out loud, you?
Oh,
Please.
so you're also doing a direct buy from the supplier. Versus going through the gas stations are doing the direct buy from the supplier and then they're popping up their operating costs on top of it and.
But
Yeah.
100% or more.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, it is, taxes too.
The lowest. Riding all the way through, the lowest diesel was $6.99, but all the other stations were $7.18.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It also makes me wonder with the increase in,
No, I would.
so, with the substantial increase in fuel, if we're gonna do a budget adjustment. Maybe we'll need to do that here as well. I don't know.
That makes sense to me.
We'll monitor that, Pete. Let's monitor that in case we need to do a budget adjustment.
I just, I'm just confused with that, sorry.
Go.
I got a problem. Go, no, you raised your hand.
She's senior to me, she said, go, I'll go. Senior by
It's all right.
time service. Anyway. The practical truth is as a commodity, fuels are frequently hedged under contracts so that there's not these spikes. So I don't know the mechanics or the financial maneuvering of it, but I would think that, especially for the amount that we use, that it would be wise to hedge our fuel costs by getting into some firm contracts when the price is down.
Yeah, we are under contract, but because the fuel pricing changes every day, they're not gonna give you one set price. No fuel company will do that.
No fuel.
There are some.
Well, I've been told that the gauge price is based on futures, super contracts, and anyway, I'll just take it at that, because y'all were the
Commissioner
professionals. Thank you.
Johnson, did you have another comment?
I just had a learning question. When Island Transit contracts for the gas on. Do we pay that state gas tax or do we not pay that state gas tax as an agency?
We're getting reimbursed.
So we pay it and then they give a share of that money back to us. Okay, I just didn't know how it worked.
Credits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question.
I see nothing.
Great discussion, y'all. Anything else?
We should see a new work chart, at some point, since we just.
We have one available for you if you'd like it.
Oh, cool. Would you like it electronically?
No, just physically. Thank you.
We did have them on hand in case they were asked.
You guys are tricky.
And Brad, once you get to the
Just
point of
prepare.
having all of your recipes down, if you wanna
Right.
forward your
Right.
little
Anticipate.
description list to the board, that would be great. Commissioner Bacon, did you have anything for us?
No.
Thank you for coming. Thanks, everyone. We are adjourned.
Good meeting.
Yeah.